What's up, guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2006 Scion TC. Up front is a 2.4-liter inline-4, and down below is a 5-speed manual transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Scion TC because this is a first-generation Scion TC. This is the second year of production of the Scion TC, and I haven't driven a first-gen in quite some time, and so I'm excited to share it with you today. But if you would like to share your vehicle with me, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form, takes under a minute to fill out. I come out to you. But let's get back to that 2.4-liter inline-4. Well, it's a Toyota engine, as you can obviously see by the valve cover. They weren't hiding it at all, and it makes about 160 horsepower. It is a very, very reliable engine. However, it's a very thirsty engine in the oil degree. These engines have very bad oil burning problems. Now, that doesn't make the engine unreliable. It's gonna start and run every time as long as it has oil in it, but it is gonna go through oil quickly. And it's a rather known issue with the Scion TCs and Toyota Camrys of the same time. This is really a coupe Camry. And so just something to be wary of. If you're buying a TC this day and age, it's probably gonna have oil burning problems, and this was the only engine that was offered here in the TC. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 5-speed manual transmission. I quite like it. Shifts really well. Toyota has always done a really good job with their manual transmissions, and so that's no surprise. Last but not least, about the drivetrain, of course, the TC is front-wheel drive. So how does it feel to drive a Scion TC? Well, this was the spiritual successor to the Toyota Celica. Toyota stopped producing the Celica in the mid-2000s, right around this era. And so this kind of took the torch of a front-wheel drive manual two-door Toyota product. And it really drives as such. It does feel heavier than the outgoing Celica, but it's fun, it's chuckable, it's rev-happy enough, but also that 2.4 has enough torque to make it manageable. And overall, it's really, really fun to drive. And if you're looking for a first car or first fun car, the Scion TC is definitely a very good option, especially given the fact that this was purchased for $1,800 here in 2023. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 3 gauges. Off to the left is my coolant temperature and fuel. In the center is my speedometer, and off to the right is my tachometer. On the steering wheel, we have volume and skip track off to the left, along with mode. And that's it. It is an asymmetrical steering wheel with no buttons off to the right besides a little cruise control stalk. The steering wheel itself is fine. I love seeing the Scion badge, although it is worn slightly, but to be expected of a vehicle of this vintage. And off to the left, we have a climate control vent, our mirror switches, our Scion security. Tell me the last time you saw one of those. And an illumination button. Moving out of the door, we have the latch to get in and out, power locks, window locks, and power windows, which are all auto. Thank you for telling us, Toyota. They also did this in their products and Lexus products. They just put all auto at the bottom. Kind of funny. Moving into the center, we get 2 climate control vents and a hidden radio. So what I love about this is I feel like this was Scion openly admitting that people are going to modify their cars so they can hide their aftermarket radios. But this is the stock radio underneath. It is a Pioneer unit from Scion. Really nice to see, and it's kind of fun that it's hidden behind a garage door. Then we have our climate controls. Interestingly enough, there is a digital clock in here too that will stay on when the vehicle is off. Fun little fact there. But the climate controls are very simple, basic, easy to read, and nothing really to it. Then we do have a 12-volt outlet and a little cubby. And then we'll talk about the shifter. The shifter is rubbery / plasticky. It's very economy feeling. However, I like how tall it is. It's a really nice and easy throw, and it's very easily manageable. Down below that, we do have a little cubby, handbrake off to the left, and cup holders to the right. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in this first gen Scion TC, and unfortunately it fails. This is my first time actually big friggin' bottle testing one, and it's a little sad to see, but kind of par for the course of the vehicle of this price and size. Then we do get a center console and the seats. The seats are this cloth material. Very, very basic, very economy. This is where you're really going to notice that Scion was cutting corners and saving cash everywhere they could because they weren't a very profitable company, and we'll talk about that towards the end of the video, but the cloth seats are a big showing of that. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so getting in the back of the TC, you can pull this handle here, and it actually offers a lot of space. Gotta toss that seat back up. But actually, even with this front seat in place all the way back, I have a pretty good amount of room. My camera is incredibly crooked, but leg room is good. Headroom is not. My head is kind of in the hatch, and I need to kneel down a little bit. But take a look back here. This is a good amount of space, knee and leg-wise, for a coupe. You don't often see that, and so very nice to see that here in the TC as my glasses are hitting the ceiling. Overall, I'm happily impressed. I wouldn't want to ride back here on a long journey, but going to the store, getting some ice cream, getting some Taco Bell, I wouldn't mind riding back here too much. And especially if you sit behind the passenger, they can actually scoot up even further. So this is the worst seat in the house, and it's fine. So pretty good stuff. Let's go out back. We'll talk about the hatch and the cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. Right around the back of the Scion TC, little button under here, pull it up like that. And as you can see, I always forget this. This is actually a hatchback. And so this opens up tons of space. Again, sort of going back to its Celica roots, tons of space. As you saw in the back seat review, these seats fold flat and you can fit tons and tons of stuff. Here's an example right here of the owner, Sean, actually transporting a giant 65-inch TV. So love that. I love how much space you get. Very, very usable, very practical. You can also come under here. We do get a spare tire, and we get a little light over here. Very cool to see. But other than that, nothing too crazy. But again, I always forget that these are hatchbacks, and I'm very, very glad that they are. Now we got to talk about the looks, and I think the Scion TC has aged rather well, although I don't think it's the most outwardly handsome automobile I've ever laid eyes on. I think it's good looking, but I don't think it's wonderful. However, like I said, this day and age, 17 years later, I think it still looks decent and doesn't look overly old. And that's a good sign from Scion. A dead brand. Hey, this car outlived its brand. That's a pretty good note. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving another first-gen Scion TC? Well, I've enjoyed my experience, much like I've enjoyed my experience in all the other Scion TCs I've driven and all the other Scion products that I've driven. They all drive pretty well. They're sort of fun, interesting spins on Toyota products. And I was really excited to drive this 2006 because 2006 was the TC's most profitable year. They sold the most units, getting close to 80,000 units. It's like 79,200 something. But the TC was also Scion's most purchased vehicle. So not only was this the most profitable year for the TC, this was the most Scions ever sold in a single year was this car. This was part of that number. So it's very cool to witness that, sort of the heyday of Scion. Because Scion was a very short-lived brand, unfortunately. They lasted only about a little over 10 years. Scion was born from Project Genesis, which was an internal term used by Toyota, describing how they wanted to target a younger audience. They wanted to bring in a younger audience to their vehicles, and so they created the Scion brand. They were hip and fun, and they advertised them in cool and wacky and personal ways, because at that time, millennials wanted to be their own person. They didn't want to be stuck in their Gen X or baby boomer parent ways. They wanted to form their own identity, as every generation does. We're seeing that now with Gen Z, with TikTok and whatnot. So this was a car that you could put your expressions onto, and that's exactly what Scion did, and that's what the TC was able to do. The average age of the car buyer for the TC was way lower than any other Toyota or Lexus product, and so they achieved it. This is the harboring of Toyota's goal with Scion. This is it. This is the car that worked to the plan that they set in place. Now, the rest of Scion wasn't quite that way with the XD, the XA, the XB, and the IM later on. Those all hit an older demographic, mostly the Scion XB, because it was actually very easy to get in and out of. So people with back problems, older people, injured people loved the Scion XB because it was simple to get in and out of. You didn't have to drop yourself into a sedan or pick yourself up into a truck. It was perfect height. And so Toyota ended up pulling the plug on Scion in the late 2010s. I believe 2016 or 2017. I'll put it up on screen, the correct date here. But this car was the one that worked. This is the car that achieved their goal. And so it's important to be driving a car like that. This is an important car in Toyota's story. And so I'm so thankful to Sean for letting me take his out. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Sean for letting me take out his Scion TC. I was so excited to drive one of these, not only in manual, but another first-gen TC. It's been years and years and years since I've driven one, so I was very thankful that Sean was able to get me behind the wheel of yet another Scion TC. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.